Welcome back. Today we're going to look at finding the equation of a straight line if we're being given 2 points using algebra, and I'm going to show you how to use drawing and logic. Here's our first example. Find the equation of a straight line that goes through the points x equals 2, y equals 3, and x equals 4 and y equals 2. Now the first thing is we want to make this as much like our previous lessons as possible. That's where we found the rule or the equation when we were given the gradient and a point. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the gradient formula. We did an earlier lesson on that. You can look back at that for these 2 points. And then we're going to choose one of these points and just do what we did last lesson. Alright, sounds easy enough. So let's show you how it's done. It doesn't really matter which point you choose either. The person sitting next to you might choose this point after you've found the gradient, and you might choose this point. But you'll both arrive at the same correct equation if you don't make any mistakes with the maths. Alright, the first step in this question is to label the points we're being given. The point 2, 3 is x1, y1, and the other point will be our x2, y2. And you should always do that, not necessarily like I have to do it on the computer here, but you just write your pen underneath x1, y1, x2, y2. Then we write down the formula. We always write down the formula because it helps us remember. Each time you repeat it, it gets into your long-term memory, and that's what you want to do. You want to make life easy for yourself. So that's the formula for the gradient. It's the difference in the y values divided by the difference in the x values. Right, now let's substitute the values in. Our y2 is 2. Our minus sign comes from the rule. Our y1 is 3. Our x2 is 4. Our minus sign comes from the rule. And our x1 is 2. Alright, 2 minus 3 is minus 1, and 4 minus 2 is 2. Because it's a negative divided by a positive, the whole thing turns out to be negative. Okay, now let's write down what we know about the rule. Y equals mx plus c. So we know that y equals minus a half, which we just worked out. That's the number in front of x. Remember, the x is in the numerator. It goes up here, plus c. Now, also recall that we don't really need to write that number 1. I've highlighted in red there for you. Now we use our key idea like before. If a point lies on a line, then that point's x and y value must make the statement true. I'm going to just choose the first point. I'm going to substitute this into the rule we know so far. Remember, I didn't really need that 1 there. Okay, this is the rule we know so far. So, y is 3 and x is 2. So I'm going to edit this rule now. I'm going to change it, so just so people know what I'm doing, first thing I'm going to do is copy it, paste it on the next line. I'm going to put y is 3, and I'm going to put x is 2. Then I'm going to simplify the answer. Okay, so we have 3 equals minus 2 on 2 plus c. That becomes minus 1. 3 equals minus 1 plus c, change the side, change the sign. So c equals 3 plus 1, whoops, put the wrong thing in there. C equals 3 plus 1, and so c will be equal to 4. Okay, so finally we just put what we know totally into the rule, and we have y equals minus x over 2 plus 4. Okay, it's always a good idea to see if we're right. Here I've put in the 2 points that we started with on Algebra. And now I'm going to type in the rule that we think is the right equation that goes through them. y equals minus x divided by 2 plus 4. Yep, beautiful. Goes through them, no problems. Okay, another example. Find the equation of a straight line that goes through the points -2, 1 and -3, -1. Okay, we want to label our points very clearly with x1, y1 for the first point and x2, y2 for the second point. That helps us when we write down the formula for the gradient. The formula for the gradient is as before. Gradient equals the change in the y values, the vertical distance, over the change in the x values, the horizontal distance. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now we just very carefully replace each number into our rule. So our y2 is minus 1, so we put it up the top here. This minus sign comes from the rule, so we put it in first. Then we go across and look at y1. y1 is the number 1, so we put it in there, and that finishes the top line. We draw our fraction bar, and then we're looking for x2. Our x2 is minus 3. This minus sign comes from the rule, that's that one there. And then we look for x1, and x1 is a -2, so that's that number here. So you notice we have to be very careful about that. Alright, now let's fix up all these signs. In the numerator, -1 is -2. Now look at these two minus signs together here. When you have two minus signs together, they become a plus. When the signs are the same, they become a plus. If they were different, it would become a single minus. So we have -3 plus 2, which is -1. Now -2 divided by -1, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 2 over 1 is just the number 2. So the gradient of our straight line here is 2. So we write down what we know. So what we know so far, let's move this up for you, is that our rule is y equals 2x plus c. Now, we had 2 points at the start. We just have to choose one to substitute for x and y, because if a point lies on a line, then that point's x and y value must make the statement true. So I'm just going to choose the first point again. There's really no hard and fast rule here. You could choose the second point. So I'm going to replace into our rule x for -2 and y for 1. So there's our rule. We'll just paste it again so you can see it a bit better. And now I'm going to replace the values. So y is 1, that comes from there. There it goes, straight in. And x is -2. So I've got, remember there's an invisible multiplier there, so it's 2 times -2 plus c. Now I want to tidy that up. 2 times -2 becomes -4. Now I want to get c by itself, change the side, change the sign, gives us c equal to 5. Now I know everything I need about the rule. So I need to just write that down. So the final rule is y equals 2x plus 5. Again, we can use GeoGebra to see if we're right. Okay, I've already typed our two coordinates in. You can see them there on the screen. Now I want to see if I'm right. Y equals 2x plus 5. Yep, no worries. Beautiful. Goes through both points. Excellent. Well, next lesson I'll show you how to do these same questions if you draw a diagram without having to do the algebra.